How's everybody today? Good. All right, obviously, this was a, great win for us, really good for our team to come out, start fast in the game, play fast, obviously ready to play. Um, so I think the big point of emphasis that, like we'd like to make moving forward is we still got to stay focused on execution. It's not just about making plays. And most of the issues that we have in games, offense, defense, doesn't really matter, come down to are we communicating and is everybody on the same page? And when we do that, we seem to have really good results. And sometimes when we don't, we give up plays that we probably shouldn't, give up. So, that's going to be the big point of emphasis in watching the film today with the players is to get them to really sort of focus on the importance of communicating and everybody being on the same page, whether two are blocking up front, how we're covering and adjusting the motions, in secondary, whatever, so that we get on the same page. Chattanooga obviously has had a really good season. The players, play hard to compete well. Rusty Wright has done, a really good job there. I think they're like second in their league, 7-3, only lost 2 games in their league. So one of the most productive offensive teams. They've got a good quarterback. They've got good receivers. They run the ball with good balance. They're really well coached. Defensively, this guy Jay Pearson is, got lots of sacks and lots of tackles for losses. And these guys play hard. And like always, this is a great opportunity for these guys to play, in a game that they probably dream about. For our team, this is either a game that you focus on correctly, you go out and practice and prepare correctly, and you build on, the momentum that you've improved with over the last weeks, and that helps you get better for what's coming up in the future. So if you don't do that, you don't have a good showing. You sort of lose your rhythm. And, rhythm is a little bit like momentum. Sometimes you lose momentum in the game, it's hard to get it back. So you got to always play the next play and keep answering the bell. And, that's really kind of how we need to approach, this game in terms of, what our focus is and how we want to continue to improve as a team. If you're going to peak at the right time, you can't have peaks and valleys. You got to keep going in the right direction, and that's what we want to get our players to focus on this week in practice in preparation for this game.
Start up front with Nick.
Yeah, Terrion mentioned that every team could use a Miss Terry, and she's helped with motivating and just staying locked in. I mean, how does she help the team during the season in terms of what she does to motivate players?
Well, her and Terrion are really kind of buddies. So I know she sort of texts with him and all that, and I kind of get on him. So it's just like kind of raising your children. I'm the guy that's always trying to get them to do right, and she's the mama who's always trying to make them happy. So that's, that's the way it's been for a long time.
Hey, Coach. A guy like Chris Braswell seemed to steadily improve over the course of his career. Where have you seen him grow the most since he got on campus?
Braz is a really good competitor, hard worker, really works hard in practice to get it right. I think a lot of guys that play outside backer for us, when they come here, they don't have a lot of background and experience in standing up and playing. A lot of them play with their hand in the dirt, in high school. So the whole idea of standing up and playing, dropping some, how do you rush off the edge, when you're standing up rather than down in a three-point stance. So, and I also think that opens up a whole panorama of knowledge of the game, coverages and things like that. So, and I would say that Braz has certainly improved physically because of how committed he is to being a good player. But I think from a mental standpoint, that's where he's really sort of has a much, much better understanding of all the things you need to do to play that position.
Middle with Matt.
After looking at the tape, what do you think of how your offensive line played against Kentucky?
They played really well. I think Kentucky's big up front. We talked about trying to be the most physical team. I think they did a good job of that. I think we ran the ball better in the second half than in the first. And some of that was just how were they playing. But I was really pleased, especially in the second half, with how we controlled the line of scrimmage. I think for the most part, the pass protection was a little better. And we want to continue to improve in all those areas.
Back left with Kyle.
Hey, Coach. Can you talk about the gauntlet of this SEC schedule? You guys are 7-0 up to this point, and then kind of a follow-up. How have you seen this team transform from week 2 up to this point in time?
Yeah, well, we talked about a lot how this team has been able to show great resiliency and perseverance to really stick with it. They want to be good, so they want to be coached. They've stayed focused on what we need to do to continue to get better, and I think by doing that, the confidence has built, the respect and trust has built, which helps confidence. And I think, we got a lot of guys that are playing really good football now. So, and we had a lot of guys that really stepped up in this last game and played well, like a receiver. I mean, we had 2 receivers out. These guys played really, really well. I mean, the receiver group. In fact, I think you probably got that we took the whole group and said, you guys are the players of the game. We had a couple guys that had to step up on defense with some starters missing. So, but it just seems like whether it's been on special teams or however it's been, every guy's kind of all in to trying to do what they can do to help the team. And the leadership has been good, and the transformation has shown in terms of, how we've been able to execute and play week in and week out.
Go front with Chase.
You mentioned on your radio show a couple weeks ago that Braswell is a good leader in his own quiet way. Besides Chris, who are a couple of guys who lead well by example, but maybe aren't necessarily vocal about it?
Right. Tim Keenan's a good leader up front. I think, Devontae Lawson is a really good leader at linebacker. Dallas is a good leader at outside backer. Malachi's a good leader, in the secondary. We have some guys at each position that, set a pretty good example in terms of how you need to prepare for a game, how you need to try to practice. And, Braz is one of those guys as well. And he's on the leadership because of the example that he sets and how he goes about what he does.
Katie on the left. Oh, you're good? Okay. Tony right there. Did you have one? You did. Okay. Ryan, I thought they told me you had one.
Coach, with senior day this week, what does it say in the world of the transfer portal and NIL, and especially a program like Alabama? If you don't play maybe your freshman year, a lot of guys want to leave. I'm not just talking about your program, but a lot of programs. What does it say about like a Chris Braswell or a Roy Dell that stuck through and really built value for themselves for the next level?
Well, I think there's a lot of examples of guys that have done that probably in a lot of programs, but, I'm just here to speak about our program. But, a guy like Mac Jones who, didn't play until his 4th year and played very well when he did and developed. So I think it speaks volumes of their commitment to the program and seeing that if they do the right things, they're going to have success. We've had guys here that, do very well in the pros, even though in the NFL, even though they've had maybe not a significant role their entire career here, but played well at some point in time, and that gave them an opportunity. I think that, one of the big things that we try to get guys to understand is we have good players on our team, so you're going to have a better chance to develop because the competition in practice is actually going to be beneficial to your development. And I think that if guys can stay focused on long term in terms of what they're trying to develop and improve. We've had all these freshmen who want to play as freshmen. And we've had, I don't know, you can count them up. How many guys have gone out early for the draft? So if it's 45 guys, I don't know if that's the right number or not. I've had 32 phone calls times 45, whatever that number is, in the thousands, right? I've never been asked once how much a guy played as a freshman. Never. Not once. Everybody wants to know, what did you develop into? But yet, the whole mindset is, if I don't play right away, you know, but that expectation gets created by a lot of external factors too. Not to put any of the blame on you all or anybody that says a guy's a 5-star and he should make this immediate impact and all this stuff. So that becomes the expectation. So when it doesn't happen, guy's frustrated. I get that. I understand that. You know, we got to try to get guys to be able to stay focused on what they have to do to develop as players, make improvement, so that when they do play, they create value for themselves, rather than worrying about just playing. But if you go out there and you don't play well, what kind of value are you creating for yourself? And what kind of confidence are you building? So all these things are things that we really try to emphasize with our young players, and the guys that buy into that, they end up doing pretty well.
We'll finish up here with Mike.
You competed against both Jimbo and Zach Arnett this year. Just what was your reaction to the news of their firings?
I'm
The Mississippi State's coach and Texas A&M, the reaction to those guys getting let go.
You know, I don't ever like to see anybody get let go, whatever we want to call it, in this business. I know how hard everybody works. I know how difficult it is to sort of build, you know, a program, to get players to compete at a high level on a consistent basis, and just have a lot of respect for people who really work hard to try to change the lives of, you know, the guys that they're coaching, make them better people, help them do the right things in terms of getting an education, as well as trying to develop them on the football field. But, you know, we are in a business that you get evaluated based on outcomes and your performance, and I hate to see anybody have to go through this. I've been fired before. It's no fun. It's no fun for your family. But I'm sure that both those guys have great reputations in terms of what they've been able to accomplish over the course of their career, and I'm sure they'll have many more opportunities to be successful in the future.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.